Hello Year 10 and welcome to a sad day. Today is, I hope, going to be your last living room lesson. I say I hope because I hope in September we will all be back together in school and I won't have to be filming from my living room anymore, but it is still a sad day, I'm sure you'll all agree. But it's also a happy day because it means the summer holidays are nearly here. So what you will need for your last living room lesson is your exercise book, a pen and a ruler, your phone, and a copy of the online textbook. So there is a photo of it attached to your email, but it's not very good. So you're going to be better off going and signing onto the dynamic learning and looking at it on your screen. But if you really can't do that, there is a photo attached as well. So that also means it is our last, I'm going to say that a lot, isn't it? It is our last jog your memory. Last time on the QR code, scanning, filling it in. Big Juicy's probably all going to come out today. You're all going to be Big Juicy, aren't you? So go complete these 3 questions and scan the QR code to do so we can see who's doing it. Okay, so last lesson we were having a look at over abstraction in Lake Chat. Now you remember over abstraction is the removal, the loss of water quicker than it can be recharged. And last lesson we were looking at the what. So we were looking at what has changed at Lake Chat. Today we're going to be having a look at why and the impacts. So we're going to be having a look at the problems from the over abstraction of this water. So title again in your books please is over abstraction in an LIC. Again, same title, but please write it so you can clock that they are different lessons, and we will get started. Okay, so I'm now going to talk you through the why Lake Chad has been reducing so rapidly over the last 40 years or so. So here's another lovely map, and as we can see here is Lake Chad straddling our 4 countries. What we can also see on this map now are some of the main rivers that feed into the Lake Chad. So the rivers that start up in the highlands somewhere, then they flow through their river profile, and then the mouth of that river is Lake Chad. And these rivers supply the water into Lake Chad. So the 2 main rivers that supply the water into Lake Chad are the Komodogu and the Geog. Don't know if I said those right. And both of these rivers are rivers that flow through Nigeria. Nigeria is a really interesting country, and we've never really talked about it during geography, which is a shame because it is a really interesting country, and that Nigeria is the country in the continent of Africa which is having the most rapid levels of urbanisation and development. Its population is going through the roof, its GDP is increasing year on year. It is having this huge economic boom for what was a low-income country. And because of this, they obviously require a lot of resources, and all of this economic income that they're getting is going into improving infrastructure. So within Nigeria, what they are now doing is they are using these 2 big rivers, the Komodogu and the Yobe, to dam them. And this then allows them to be collecting huge amounts of water in reservoirs, which they are then using for their growing economy and their growing population. So first thing I would like you to do very quickly is just pause this video, and I just want you to make a quick note of this. So just copy down this box for me so you've got a little note on it. Okay, so one of the main dams that has been built on the Geog River is called the Tiga Dam. Tiga. You'll hopefully remember this one. So the Tiga Dam was built on the Geog River, and as I told you, the Geog River was one of the main ones that brings water to Lake Chad. And it was one of the first dams that was built in Nigeria. It was built in 1974, which was maybe 10 years or so after the Lake Chad started to decrease, but it led to it happening really, really rapidly. And it's created this huge reservoir. And it's created this huge reservoir because they needed to provide water for a city called Kano. So this map here shows you, so here's Lake Chad, here is the River Geog, here is the city of Kano, and here is the Tiga Dam. So the Tiga Dam has been built upstream of the city of Kano to create this huge reservoir to generate water for the people of this city. So Kano is one of the largest cities in Nigeria, and because of this dam, because of the Tiga Dam, only 2% of the water in the River Geog now makes its way to Lake Chad. So because of this dam, 98% of the water that would be going into Lake Chad is now being collected and given to the city of Kano. So once again, I want you to just pause your video and make a few quick notes on this slide, so you've got a bit more of the information on why it's happening. So as I mentioned, Nigeria is this huge growing economy. There is 166 million people living in Nigeria. It has got a rapidly growing population. We can see from this graph here that between 1970, 2020 and predicted onwards, the population in the city of Kano alone has grown hugely. So Kano, as I say, is the third largest city in Nigeria. It's a really important big city. And between 1970 and 2020, the population has gone from about 500,000 to about 3 million. So it's had a huge increase in population. And because of this, this is one of the key reasons why they would have had to dam the River Geog in order to provide water for its growing population. Now, if you remember rightly, last lesson, the last thing we did was we had a look at all of the countries that have part of the Lake Chad drainage basin. Nigeria had one of the smallest percentages. But looking at this, we can tell, I've just told you that 98% of the water from that one river is going to Nigeria. So of the countries that have got a stake in the Lake Chad drainage basin, Nigeria probably have one of the smallest stakes in it. Yet they are taking a huge amount of water, which is impacting all of these surrounding countries that also rely on Lake Chad. So next thing I want you to do is pause your videos and watch this YouTube video, which starts to explain some of the impacts the reduction of Lake Chad has had on the local people. You can make a few notes if you want. Watch the video. Okay, so last thing we're going to do today, and the last thing we're going to do in our living room lessons, is we're now going to tie all of this information, these notes together, to have a think about what the impacts have been for the people who use Lake Chad. So this is where you're going to need your copy of page 275 of the textbook. The first thing I want you to do, so there's 3 tasks you're doing here. The first one is I want you to summarise the 4 key impacts. So look at each of the 4 bullet points and just summarise them briefly. Please don't copy it all out, just a brief summary. Then I want you to have a think about these 4 different groups of people, and I want you to expand these sentences. So how are these 4 different groups of people being impacted by the reduction of Lake Chad? And then lastly, you are going to have a go at this exam question here. So the question is, explain why over-abstraction of water causes problems for both people and the environment. So this is a 6-mark question. So you know that there are going to be 2 P's on this question. Because we know there's going to be 2 P's, we know that there's probably going to be 2 different points you're making. So you're going to be making one that is an impact on, that causes problems for the people. So people are impacted because. Then you need to give me 2 explanations of this. So this leads to resulting in, and that is 1 snowball. But because it's a 6-marker, you've got a 2nd snowball. So your next one would be the environment is impacted by ... So then you need to give a reason how the environment is being impacted, what problems are created for that, resulting in, which means that ... So it is 2 snowballs. You're going to be using at least 4 connectives, 2 different points, one about how it creates problems for people, one about how it creates problems for the environment. Once you have done this, you are done. I'm going to go through these, but I'm not going to go through the 6-marker because I've already given you a good little structure for that. So, your 4 main bullet points. The first one is obviously people and animals rely on that lake for a water supply. It's not clean, good water, but they do. So reducing the amount of water in there is obviously going to have quite a key impact on the people. The next one was the soils. Because of over-irrigation, the soils have now become less fertile. Next one is the ecosystem surrounding the lake. So these really, really important wetland ecosystems, which provide a huge amount of biodiversity, are being lost because there's no longer water to make it a wetland. And then lastly, because of people not being able to rely on the lake anymore, they're now migrating to cities like Kano. So Kano, with its growing population, has got refugees from Lake Chad moving to Kano, making its population go higher, meaning they need more water. So it's created this real cycle of kind of poverty and increased the reduction of Lake Chad. So in terms of our 4 groups that would have been affected, residents relied on the lake as a water source. What would be the impact of that? This could lead to health issues. It could lead to increased spread of diseases such as cholera. Farmers relied on the lake to feed their livestock. This could lead to a reduction in the amount of livestock, which could lead to a reduction in their income. And farmers relied on the lake to irrigate the crops. This has then led to salinisation of the soils, which has then resulted in the soils becoming less fertile. And the fishermen relied on the fish stock as a source of income. As the lake decreased, the fish also decreased, meaning that they had a lower yield, which means that they are going to again have less income. So the reduction of Lake Chad has been pretty catastrophic for a lot of different people. There's no real plan at the moment to do a huge amount about it, which is obviously sad times. But there is going to have to be some joined up thinking between all of the nations involved within Lake Chad, because soon there is going to be no water left in it. So on that sad note, we have finished our last living room lesson. You should have today notes on why Lake Chad has decreased, notes on the Tiga Dam. You should have summarised those 4 key impacts, expanded the sentences on those groups, and done your 6-mark question. Year 10, honestly, well done. Well done for getting through this term. It's been really weird, it's been really hard, but you have all been amazing. Hopefully, you won't ever see a living room lesson again, because come September, we'll all be back together and we'll all be having a lovely, lovely time. Until then, have a wonderful summer, and I really, really am looking forward to seeing you all.